All right, episode 58 of the poker vlog. We got into something a little bit different in this episode. We went to the Venetian poker room, the new poker room at the Venetian. I think it literally just opened about a week or so ago, maybe a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. And Jamon Burton and Pokerface Ash were hosting a meetup game there. So Friday, August the 23rd, meetup game. Things kicked off around 1 o'clock in the afternoon. 1-3 and 3-5 no limit were the stakes that were available. I jumped into the 1-3 streets. Just decided to kind of have some fun and just take it easy and not take things too seriously. And 1-3 seemed like a fun time, so I went ahead and jumped into one of those tables. We ended up getting, I think, 4 tables total running. There was 1 table of 3-5 and 3 tables of 1-3. And it was fun, man. It was great action. Good time was had by all. Got to meet some other vloggers in the Las Vegas area. Shout out to Jeff. I forget your last name, Jeff. Poker Joker 52, I believe, is your nickname. So if you don't know Jeff, check him out. He's here on YouTube, lives in the Las Vegas area. Check out his channel. And Jason, who I've played with before, Jason, he's another Jason P. Played with him at Trooper Thursday in the past. And it was fun playing with him again. I got a chance to bluff him out of a pot. Apologies for bluffing you, Jason, but it had to be done, man. It had to be done. So, yeah, it was fun times, and we got in some interesting hands here, and I hope you guys enjoy the episode. I'll see you guys at the table and in the outro. This is the first meetup game we play on the vlog, and it won't be the last meetup game that we play. This was a lot of fun. The action kicked off at about 1:30 in the afternoon on Friday. Sat down at a brand new table. We've got Jamon Burton on our direct left. We've got a couple of other vloggers at the table as well, so this is a fun-filled, action-packed table. And we look down at King Queen on the button. Right out of the gate, we've got a playable hand in position. We see a raise from a player in middle position who makes it 10 to go. I could either 3-bet or I could call. I elect to just go ahead and call here to get things started. Both blinds get out of the way, and we're going to go heads up to a flop. A flop that completely misses us. We see 8-4-3 rainbow. Middle position player puts in the continuation bet. He makes it 15. And I think about my options here. I could represent all of the sets in this spot. I would definitely call pre-flop with a hand like pocket 8s, pocket 4s, or even pocket 3s. So I could go ahead and make a move right out of the gate here, but after thinking it through, I decide better of it. I just let my hand go, and we move on to the next hand, getting things started at this meetup game. About 30 minutes later, we look down at Queen Jack of Diamonds in the cutoff, and just about everybody at the table limps for the $3. I'm not going to be allowing this to happen with a hand like Queen Jack of Diamonds in the cutoff. We've got to put in the raise, and I go ahead and bump it up to $30. We only get one caller, the under-the-gun player who limped calls and everybody else folds. And we end up going heads up here to a run-out, which gives us top pair with a pretty decent kicker. Flop is Queen 8-5 Rainbow. Player in the under-the-gun spot checks it over to us. I'm going to be firing out a continuation bet here, and I think I can just treat this like any single raised pot. I'm going to fire out about a half pot size bet with my entire range in spots like this. So I assemble a bet of $35, and the action is back over to the player in the under-the-gun spot, who pretty quickly calls the $35 bet. Dealer goes ahead and burns and turns the 8 of hearts. So the board is now paired, and we've got a backdoor flush draw that came in on the turn. Player checks it over to me once again, and I think I want to bet on the smaller side here, giving him an incentive to raise off any of his strong hands that he possibly had on the flop that he was slow playing. Might want to raise now on the turn, so I settle on a sizing of $65. And the action is now back over to the player in the under the gun spot, who once again just puts in the call. I feel like we have the best hand going to the river. That is until the dealer peels off the 5 of hearts, completing the backdoor flush, and also double pairing the board. So when the player in the under the gun spot checks, I quickly check back, and he shows us the bad news. He's got king 7 of hearts for runner backdoor flush. Our queen is no good. We got 2 streets of value, but unfortunately we just couldn't hold, and he gets there on the river. No worries, we're in a good game. We've got people calling large pre-flop raises with king 7 suited out of position. I like my chances at this table, and I like my check back on the river there as well. I think you could make a case for potentially betting and betting large on the river. Could put some uncomfortable one-pair hands or even flushes that aren't the second nut flush in some uncomfortable spots. However, I don't think players at this level are too into folding flushes, so not trying to bluff, especially bluff someone who has the second nut flush. I'm going to go ahead and top off here and add on another 160, get the stack back up to 300. We're in a good game. We want to have a full stack, and we want to pile the money in when we get a good hand at this table. All right, things are starting to get crazy already. Jamon announces that he's going to be playing this next hand blind. I am not in the hand at all. I end up folding from the small blind. But we see a player from early position who raises. He makes it 15 to go. The action ends up folding back around to Jamon, who puts in the $15 call without looking at his cards. And let's see how the action plays out from there.
That's pretty cool. 50? I have a pair down there, but unfortunately, everything but one beats it out there. Everything but one beats it.
You guys swear you're blind, Jamon?
I'm blind.
You're blind?
I looked at mine because I was in first position. I said, well, I can't play it blind now.
It just feels like my kind of book.
It really does.
Yeah.
It spells Jamon.
I know.
The board spells Jamon.
All right. It's a meetup game, so
Oh, okay, let's see what he's got.
Oh, hey, you have one of my cards.
Did not have your name on
Nice
it.
suck out.
You know, that's how I live.
Nice suck out.
Right out of the gate, I can tell this is going to be a fun, action-packed table. We've got people raising large pre-flop. We've got 3-betting pre-flop. I go ahead and put in a raise with pocket 8s and early position to 12. I immediately get 3-bet by Jamon, who makes it 40 to go. Action folds back around to me, and I did not come to a meetup game at the Venetian to be folding pocket pairs. I think we got to go ahead and put in the call, especially against Jamon, who I know he can get a little creative with his 3-bets. You know, he could have a hand like 5-3 maybe, I think could be in his range, possibly. So I go ahead and put in the call, and we go heads up to a flop. And I didn't do a great job of taking notes and vlogging in this hand because I don't remember exactly what the board was. I think it was like queen 10-6 or queen 9-6, something like that. But it goes check, check. We see a turn, which is a brick. Goes check, check. We see a river, which is a brick. It goes check, check again. And I show my pocket 8s. Jamon shows his favorite hand, ace-king offsuit. I know how much he really loves that hand, ace-king offsuit. One of his favorites. Not going to be your traditional 1-3 table. I look down at ace-queen suited under the gun. I raise it up. I make it 12 to go. Once again, Jamon immediately puts in the old 3-bet to 40. Surprisingly, we get a cold call from a player in middle position, calls the 40, folds back around to me, and I think I got a couple of options here with my ace-queen suited. I could make a stand right now and put in the 4-bet, let Jamon know I'm not going to be pushed around with his 3-betting on my direct left all the time. Or I could just go ahead and call and take a flop multi-way with a very strong hand. I decided to just put in the call, so we're going to go multi-way, and we're going to see a flop with a pretty solid hand, we flop top pair, top kicker on a monotone board, Queen 10-8, all clubs. I start things off with a check like I would with my entire range, and the 3-better, Mr. Burton, checks as well, and it ends up checking around, and we see a 6 of hearts on the turn, which shouldn't change anything, and I think I've got the best hand here quite frequently. When you've got the best hand, you want to go ahead and put money in the pot, and you want to charge all of those club draws that might be out there, so I go ahead and fire out for $75. Action on Jamon, who does not fold right away. He goes into the tank for a little bit here, and I think he might have picked up some equity on this turn. And he's thinking about putting in a beat on me, I think, here, and calling. Things are getting a little out of hand, a little crazy. Let's go to the audio and hear how this plays out.
Well, this gives you information.
I'm listening. I know you don't mind. It gives you information.
Go ahead, keep going.
Keep talking, guys. Keep talking.
No worries.
Wait. You should,
Oh,
if you're gonna pull, you show the camera.
I'm not. I was looking at your chips.
I should just get nasty.
I know I'm scared though. For sure.
I fold.
Yeah, me too.
You guys want to see?
Yeah.
All right.
Oh God.
Well, can I see? Can I see?
River one time?
Can I see what you have?
It's a meetup game.
Yeah, I mean,
You can do it? You can see a room?
he's got it. Deuce spades. That's a blank. That's a.
He shows the old 7-deuce offsuit, and as I mentioned earlier, I knew he could get a little creative with his 3-bets pre-flop. So he turned a gut shot straight draw, picked up some equity, and thought about putting a nasty bad beat on me and calling and trying to hit his straight on the river. Thankfully, the $75 bet did the job and got both players to fold. The other player ended up having pocket jacks. Everyone loves a good big blind special, and this definitely qualifies. I've got ace deuce of diamonds in the big blind, folds around to the player in the small blind, who goes ahead and puts in the additional couple of dollars to call, and I just go ahead and check my option here, and we go to the flop. Flop gives us 3 of a kind. We see deuce, deuce, 6 with 2 hearts. Small blind immediately fires out a small bet of $5 on this flop, and I think I should be going for a raise here. A small raise on the flop would make sense, but I just put in the call, and we see an offsuit 4 peel off on the turn. Shouldn't change anything, and now he fires out for 10. Once again, I just go ahead and call, and we see a jack of hearts, I believe it was, on the river, and it does complete the flush draw, so when he checks, I think I have to go for a little bit of value here. If he got a flush, then, more power to him, but I go ahead and fire out for 20. He goes into the tank for a little bit. He says, I think you flop trips. I think you have a deuce. And he eventually just goes ahead and folds. He had the right read there, unfortunately, so I just go ahead and courtesy show my deuce, and he says, yeah, that's what I figured. It's a fun game, it's a meetup game. We're all just having a good time here, not taking things too seriously. So I don't mind showing, in this spot, just to let him know he had the right read. Now it's our turn to pick up pocket jacks. We are in the low jack, and we see a raise from a player in middle position who makes it $11. Action is back over to me, and I'm going to be putting in the 3-bet here, trying to isolate with this player, who's a rather tight player. I hadn't seen him raising too frequently pre-flop, so I would expect he's going to have a relatively strong range here, and we're either going to get some action, he's going to call, or if he's got a better hand, we might see a potential 4-bet. Action is back over to the player in middle position, who does go into the tank for a little bit, but he eventually decides to just go ahead and fold, and we take this one down uncontested. Unfortunate that we couldn't get any additional action here with a premium pocket pair. Jamon has now left the table, and Poker Face Ash is on our direct left. We see a $6 straddle in the under the gun position, and about 4 players call the $6 straddle. I'm going to go ahead and have to raise this up when I look down at ace-queen offsuit on the button. All of this passivity, all of this weakness with all these players just calling the $6 straddle definitely screams like we have the best hand, and there's a lot of dead money out there to take advantage of. I settle on a sizing of 40 United States dollars. I put out the bet, and everyone everyone, including every single limper and the straddler themselves, goes ahead and relinquishes their cards, sends them into the muck, and we end up just taking down the dead money. Maybe I went a little too large with my $40 bet, but I like it. I like the $40 bet when there's 4 players who call a $6 straddle, and I don't mind taking down the dead money in spots like this. And if you like taking down the dead money, do me a favor and go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss future episodes.
That's what I'm saying. You can get there.
We pick up another premium pocket pair. This time it's the premium of all premium pocket pairs. That's right, pocket aces. Ace of hearts, ace of diamonds in the small blind. We see a raise to $12 in early-ish position. We see a player in the field put in the call, and then the action folds to me. I'm out of position here in the small blind. We've got a raise and a caller. I size up and make it 65 to go. Trying to just get one caller here in this pot. Unfortunately, that is not what happens when both players reluctantly release their cards. We don't get any action here. Maybe I went a little too large with my sizing there. Let me know in the comments if you think I should have went to 50 or 55 in that spot. I kind of like going a little bit larger when we're out of position, but unfortunately, it didn't get us any action in this spot, which is not the desired outcome when you have the best starting hand in No Limit Texas Hold'em. In this one, we end up getting involved in a hand with Poker Face Ash. We've got pocket sixes. We are in the big blind. She goes ahead and raises it up under the gun to $15. We see a player in the field put in the call, and I go ahead and put in the call. So we're going to go multi-way here to a flop. A flop that isn't too terrible for our pocket sixes. It's 7-3 deuce rainbow. I start things off with a check here like I always would, and surprisingly Poker Face Ash checks here as well, and the action checks around and we see the 5 of diamonds peel off on the turn. Now we pick up a straight draw to go along with our pair, so we pick up some equity on the turn. I think about leading out here as there was a lot of passivity on the flop with everyone checking, but I decide to go ahead and just check and see what Poker Face Ash would like to do here on this turn card. She decides she wants to go ahead and bet, and I don't blame her. After everyone checks on the flop, she might rate to have the best hand here, so she fires out for $30 here on this turn. The player in the field pretty quickly folds, and the action is back over to me. I don't think there's any merit here in raising. I don't think it accomplishes anything other than getting called by a better hand. And I don't think there's any merit in folding because we still rate to have the best hand here quite frequently, which leaves only one choice, which is to call, and that is what I do, and we go off to a river. The river is a 7, which pairs the board, and it pairs the top pair on the board, which is a little bit scary, so I go ahead and check it over, and she quickly checks it back. I announce that we have 2 pair and turn over our 6s. She says, "You are good." She ends up folding her hand face down, so we didn't get a chance to see what she had. And unfortunately, this was the only pot that we got a chance to play against Poker Face Ash, so hopefully we'll get a chance to meet again in the future and get into some pots together. It was great meeting you, and it was great getting a chance to play with you, and I will hopefully give you a chance to win some of your money back in a future session. In this hand, I started recording a little bit late. The pre-flop action, there was a player in early position who went ahead and raised it up to 12. I called in the cutoff with pocket 4s, and we went heads up to a flop of ace, 10, 4 with 2 diamonds. Wet, static board. It goes check, check on the flop. The turn is the ace, pairing the board and giving us a full house, and now this player bets $10, and I call. River is a king, which shouldn't change too much. But he slows down and checks. I bet 20 here, trying to extract value from any ace-x type hand, but unfortunately, he just doesn't have anything that he can call with, and he quickly folds, so we don't get any additional value there with our full house. What are you going to do? Sometimes they're going to have an ace, sometimes they're not, and you're just not going to get paid in that spot when they don't have an ace or something good to call with. We pick up another premium holding. This time it's ace-king offsuit on the button. We see a player in middle position who puts in the $3 limp, and the action is back to me, and I'm going to be raising this up, trying to isolate with the player who limped. I make it 15 to go. Everyone gets out of the way. They fold, and it's back over to the player who limped in, puts in the call, and we get our wish. We go heads up in position to a flop that comes down pretty darn good when you have ace-king. We see ace-king 6 rainbow. Flop top 2 pair, and the player checks. I'm going to go ahead and fire out a continuation bet here in position. I make it 20 to go. Unfortunately, there's no action to be had, no value to be had when he quickly folds. So we don't get anything with our flop top 2 pair. Unfortunate here that he didn't at least have a king or something of that nature that he might be able to put in one call with. In this one, we pick up the better variety of ace-king of spades under the gun, the suited variety, the one that everyone likes, opposed to the non-suited variety. We see a raise from a player who is under the gun. He makes it 11 to go. I go ahead and put in the 3-bet. I re-raise it up to $40. Now the action folds back around to the player who is in the under the gun spot, who tanks for a while. And I've got to be completely honest here, I don't remember exactly the run out here in this spot. I know we did flop a backdoor flush draw with 2 overs on the flop, and I believe the flop comes down 8-3-6 rainbow after he puts in the call. Jason, you were the one in this hand, so if you happen to be watching this vlog and you remember the flop better than I do, please chime in the comments below and let me know if I have it wrong, but I think it was something like that. So he starts things off with a check, and I'm going to be down betting here with my entire range. I go ahead and fire out for a $40 bet here on this flop. I think our opponent is going to have a lot of overcards that missed here as well. Hands like king, queen, king, jack suited. Hands like that, queen 10, that just completely missed this flop that are going to fold pretty frequently. I don't hate a call here either, so if he's got some pocket pairs like pocket 9s or pocket 7s that want to go ahead and put in a call, I think that's okay, because I think we can put some moves on hands like that on future streets. He does eventually call. The turn was a 7 or something of that nature, so it does make the board a little bit more connected and a little bit more straighty. He checks again, and I fire out here for a $65 bet here on this turn. I went with a smaller sizing here for a couple of reasons. One, I wanted to give him an incentive to just go ahead and get in the remainder of his stack with any of his strong made hands on the turn. And two, I wanted to set up a nice river bluff if he does decide to call. And actually, based on that, I think I went a little too large here on the turn because he's only going to have about 150 left behind if he does put in the call. Now what happens next, I would not advise. I ask him if he wants to see one card to make his decision easier because he is in the tank here on this bet on the turn. He says, sure. I go ahead and turn over the prettiest card in the deck, the ace of spades. And then he puts in the call. So we're going to go to a river here with ace high, the best ace high that we could possibly have, but still, it's ace high. And the river is a complete brick. It doesn't change anything. He checks again, and I think I only have one move here. I think I'm going to have to just go for it. Sure, we could check back and hope that our ace high is good for showdown, but if he's got some sort of weird pocket pair, I don't want to lose in a spot like this where he might fold some of those hands. So I've got to put him in an uncomfortable spot. I jam all in. He goes well into the tank. When he goes into the tank here, I think he's going to have one of those one pair holdings that are in an uncomfortable spot now on the river. We took an incredibly strong line here. We 3-bet pre-flop, we bet flop, we bet turn, and we jammed river. Our hand looks like pocket aces, and we showed him the ace of spades. So he's going to be thinking we've got pocket aces here quite a bit. And I think our all-in jam here on the river gives us the best chance to win this pot. We took an incredibly strong line here. We 3-bet pre-flop, we bet flop, we bet turn, and we jammed river. It looks like we've got pocket aces here, so I would not blame him for folding a pair. He does eventually talk and say, I don't think you'd be bluffing in this spot. I'm not sure if you would have the moxie to bluff here. He does turn over his cards, and it looks like he's got a 6 for a pair, and he eventually does go ahead and fold. I ask him if he wants to see it, and he eventually does say, yes, let's see it. And what happens next is funny. I'll let the audio play.
If you don't want to see it, I won't show it. You want to see it?
Oh!
Sorry, brother.
That's nice of him.
I know. This is some bullshit.
He's not folding.
Yeah, but I had 6-9 suited. So
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
The turn I picked up straight on.
Yeah, no, definitely.
I just didn't think you were going to actually have the stones to actually like
Bluff you?
bet the river on the stones. I didn't buy it. But I mean, like, the thing is, if I am I'm going to flat him and just bait him to doing that because I know I can't shove and he's going to call, right?
Right.
So the fact that he made that, I mean, I called on the premise that I thought that he probably didn't have it. But then when he bet it, I'm like, is he really that insane?
Next hand, we are in the big blind, and we look down at Ace Queen of Spades, a very pretty hand in the big blind. We see a raise from a player in the low jack. He makes it 17 to go. This is the player that we played the Queen Jack hand with that runnered the flush on us before. So I'm going to go ahead and just defend my big blind here, and we're going to go heads up to a flop. A flop that comes down King of Clubs, Queen of Clubs, 8 of Diamonds, giving us middle pair with a pretty good kicker, but that's about all. But I'm certainly not going to be folding to a bet in this spot, so when he fires out a continuation bet here, I think I have to go ahead and put in the call, and that is what I do. $20 is the price for us to see a turn card which is the Queen of Diamonds. One of the things I've been picking up in my poker studies is that you need to extract max value when you have a good hand, and I do not do that here, so I need to be betting in these spots. When he checks, I check back on the turn, which brings us to a river, which gives us quads. The Queen of Hearts peels off on the river. Quad queens. He checks to us again, and now we definitely need to put some money in this pot. I bet small here. I put in a $30 bet, trying to either just get a crying call from any type of pair that might have hit a full house on the river, or better yet, try to get him to raise with any of his King X holdings, or if he happens to have a hand like, I don't know, pocket aces by magic of some sort. He's got the pocket aces. He might put in the call, but he eventually just folds. We do have to show our quad queens because it is a high hand. So thankfully, even though we don't get paid here from the player, we do pick up an additional $200 from hitting the high hand. It was a draw, and we drew a $200 envelope. The highest amount we could have gotten paid was $10,000. There was 4 $10,000 envelopes. Had we drawn one of those $10,000 envelopes, you could bet that it would have made an appearance on this vlog, but we didn't. We just drew 200, but that's okay. I'll take the additional $200 for hitting quad queens on the river. And that is going to do it for the hands in this session. I hope you guys enjoyed them. It was a fun meetup game. Looking forward to playing in more meetup games in the future. Stay tuned for the outro. I tracked Jamon down to ask him his thoughts on the turnout for this meetup game and just to get his thoughts in general. And unfortunately, being a bad vlogger, I did not hit the record button in time. So the first question that I ask him here is, what are your thoughts on the turnout for the meetup game? Let's pick things up from there.
Tonight?
What about tonight?
Tonight was a fantastic night. Good turnout. Poker Face Ash was here. I punted off everything like I punted off. The plan, honestly, was to punt off more than I actually punted off.
So you were supposed to punt off more?
I was supposed to punt off more, but I got
Did
lucky.
you have a dollar amount in mind that you were going to punt off?
Yeah. 1,200.
Oh,
yeah.
And where did you end up in that
I
number?
punted off 400.
Oh.
So, like, I missed.
You weren't even halfway
I
there.
failed, yeah.
You weren't even
I
halfway there.
tried.
But this was a great event. Thank you so much for doing this, man.
Thank you. Thank you for coming out, too.
Yeah. We'll see you soon.
Yep.
All right, so we just finished up our session here at the Venetian at the meetup game. 1-3 no limit hold'em. Jamon Burton, Poker Face Ash. Got to meet some other great vloggers. It was a good time. Only played 1-3, played for about 4.5 hours. Was in the game for 460-ish and cashed out for 807. For a profit of around $350 US. So I'll put the totals up here. It is about 6:30 in the evening. Not sure what I'm going to get into the rest of tonight. It is Friday night. And yeah, there's still more poker to be had, possibly tonight. So we'll see. Maybe I'll go jump into a game at Bellagio, or maybe go back to my old haunt at South Point and get in a 2-3 session. But that is going to do it for this episode. Appreciate you guys watching and tuning in. Appreciate Jamon and Pokerface Ash for doing this meetup game. And if you like the vlog, please do hit the like button, subscribe, hit the notification bell, share it with your friends, your family, your coworkers, and I will see you all in the next episode. Peace.